Hey guys, and welcome back to Mad About Skin. In today's video, we are talking sunscreens. How did a step in your skincare routine, the application of a good SPF, become so controversial, so heated, so much debate online? 3 or 4 years ago, people were applauded for just wearing a sunscreen, because honestly, it wasn't that common. Cut to like 4 years later, and now we're sunscreen shaming, calling out people that maybe aren't doing it the exact perfect way that we would like them to use it. You see a lot of people online calling others out for not applying enough, not reapplying frequently enough, using the wrong product. Really, what this is doing is sucking out the fun and enjoyment out of sunscreens, which, whilst it's absolutely an essential, should also be something we want to reach for. I know a lot of people are actually turning off sunscreens entirely, saying, you know what, it's got too complicated, it's got too heated, I just think it's better to step away and continue with the other steps in my routine. This should never be the case, so let's just get it off our chests. Let's talk about sunscreens and hopefully empower everyone to make the right decision when it comes to their own sunscreen needs. Now, before we get into this video, I realised I forgot to do the swipe. I think it's because I'm just a little bit heated. This is definitely a topic that gets me a little hot under the non-existent collar, but I don't want this to turn out to be a rant. What I really want to get from this video is to empower you guys to get the most from whichever sunscreen you reach for, apply it in the way that you enjoy the rest of your skincare routine, and of course, give you that locked-in skin protection day in, day out. I would love to know your thoughts, feelings, and opinions when it comes to anything mentioned in this video, so start off in the comments section below. There is zero judgment here on Mad About Skin. Everyone's opinion is valid, and so let's keep it totally respectful. Reply to each other's comments, really get the conversation going, but let's do it in a respectful way. Whatever your thoughts and feelings are when it comes to sunscreen, hopefully you want to reach down and give this video a big thumbs up and a like. The more likes the video gets, the more widely YouTube distributes on its channel. I really want to get this message out there loud and clear. So, without further ado, let's cut that waffle and just delve straight on in. So where all this starts is this term sunscreen shaming, which unfortunately has been added to our vocabulary in the past 6 months. I actually think, this is something that I've seen emerge over the past year, but has really kind of gone into overdrive recently. This is where people online call out other people for the way that they choose to use their sunscreen, the amount they reapply, the product preferences that they show. I think first and foremost, butt out of other people's lives. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes I think we do our skincare for us. We know our skin better than anyone else in the world, and so calling out other people, which I see in some comments on other content creators' channels, I see other content creators doing this in skincare reaction videos and the like, come on, you don't know that person's individual circumstances, and if people don't ask for advice, really, is it for us to offer it in a very personalised way like that? Absolutely not. But people have been called out for maybe not doing what is like the gold standard when it comes to sunscreen. I'm going to be the first to put my hands up and say, I don't follow half of the rules that some other content creators would want you to follow or believe that you have to follow to get the right level of protection, because you know what? We all have to match the products and the application that we use to our individual circumstances and lifestyle. And that's kind of what I want to share in this video. So when it comes to sunscreen, yes, absolutely, you should use one. But you should use one that works for your individual skin type, for your budget, for your ethics when it comes to choosing from particular brands. That all has a real important bearing on the product that you reach for. Don't just say you have to use this one because it's held up as like a cult holy grail. You've then got to apply it sensibly to make sure that you get the right level of protection. That for me is 2 thin layers of my preferred sunscreen across the face. That works well for me. I miss spots if I just do 1 thick layer. So 2 thin layers kind of guarantees I get everything, and I think gives a nicer application. That won't work for everyone, but it's all about, again, matching it to your individual skin's needs, the amount of time you have on the morning to do all of this. One thing I really don't like is what they call the 2-finger or even the 3-finger method. I think this was created out of a way of kind of informing people about a rough guide to how much sunscreen you need. But it's just that, an absolute rough guide. And I see content creators like doing 3 thick lines across the fingers of sunscreen, then smearing it across the face. It's a rough guide, and nobody, but maybe the real like sunscreen aficionados, those that adore their sunscreen and love applying it, very few people in the real world actually apply sunscreen like that. I choose to personally do it. Just dab a little on the face, work it in, wait like a minute, then do the same again to get those 2 layers, which is actually a tip I picked up from Dr. Dre, and when she said 2 thin layers are better than 1 thick layer, again, to make sure that you're covering every last inch. The 3-finger method, I think, was designed to support people using the right amount, but in the real world, does it really work? And what I want to say at this point is if you're not applying it using that method, there is no shame. You're not doing it all wrong. wrong and people shouldn't be coming for you. It's all about doing what works best for you. And if you make sure you read the manufacturer's instructions and apply the amount that they recommend to get the right amount of coverage, but how you measure that or estimate that is entirely up to you. We then come on to the topic of reapplication. Well, this is what is hotly contested online, and I think the one that's the most difficult to feel like you're fitting into people's expectations. So when it comes to sunscreens, a lot of people will say you have to reapply it every 2 hours. The reason that brands say this is because on the first application, often we've missed spots, so by reapplying very frequently, it kind of guarantees you get that coverage. That isn't really an issue if you do what I do, which is when you kind of apply 2 thinner layers to kind of guarantee the coverage. But that is some of the reason why they say reapply. Also, particularly with US sunscreens, they use very old style filters, which aren't particularly photostable, so they degrade over time, so you don't get that longevity of protection that you can with some newer generation filters. These new generation filters, which are in most European, Australian, Korean, Japanese sunscreens, are actually much more photostable, so give you longer term protection than those 2 hours. So I'm just here to say, if you're super busy, your lifestyle or whatever's going on in the world around you doesn't allow you to reapply every 2 hours, there is no sense in shaming that. And people calling that out as saying you're damaging your skin if you don't do that, you know what? That is just not the case. I would say switch to a product that gives you a bit long-term coverage. There's even products out there that give you 8 hours coverage, which I absolutely love. I never used to reapply, and I'm happy to own up to that and say, you know what, I applied my sunscreen really well on the morning. I never reapplied during the day. Things got in the way. I just found it a little bit faffy. I just knew for me that was never going to work. So I switched to a longer range protection product, my favorite being the Sultan Face that you can get in Boots. That lasts 8 hours and kind of gives me that coverage without me having to like panic and think I need to reapply and then feeling really bad for not doing it because I never did. And I think this is where the sense of shame comes. You always need, when it comes to sunscreen, to use what works for you, apply it the very best way possible to get you the maximum protection you're able to. But don't feel a sense of shame because you're not doing it according to what everyone else expects of you. At the end of the day, using sunscreen is streets ahead of what a lot of people do. There's a lot of people out there that never apply a sunscreen product day in, day out. So the fact that you're doing it, even if it's just once on a morning in a hurry, is streets ahead of what people were doing like 5 or 10 years ago, and what a lot of people do today. So always bear that in mind. It makes me so sad that I've heard people saying, you know what, they're just doing away with the sunscreen. It's too much hassle. There's too many expectations associated with it, and they always get it wrong, and they always feel shamed as a result of it. So they're just doing away with it. That makes me really sad because that should never be the case. Skincare should be uplifting, should be affirming, should be part of your wellness routine. I kind of want to recapture that narrative, which is one of the reasons I wanted to sit down and share this video with you today. Choose a sunscreen that works well for your skin type, for your budget, that you're going to look forward to applying. Apply a couple of thin layers on a morning to make sure you're getting maximum coverage, and then do your best when it comes to reapplication. You know, some people will prefer a water-resistant sunscreen. They absolutely exist. If you're in a humid climate, you might be sweating a lot. Some people like myself, like to go for the long wear ones where they know that they're not going to be reapplying. It's not in their nature, or they're super busy and won't have the opportunity to. Just choose a product that's going to work with your lifestyle. Don't feel that unless you're stood in front of the mirror doing a 3-finger, 2-finger test or whatever it is, smear it on in a way that, you know, very few of us actually do in the real world, that somehow you're doing it wrong and you should feel a sense of shame for that. Absolutely not. Let's regain this narrative and actually, you know, empower us to protect our skin day in, day out, and use products that really work for us and deliver that benefit. I want this to be a message of positivity and say, get that sunscreen, choose your favorite, and I'll leave a link to some of my absolute favorites, which might give you some inspiration up there. So check that out if you're still struggling to find your perfect pairing. Choose one that you like, apply it in the best way possible, reapply if you can, but if you can't, get one of the longer wear ones and just go out there and enjoy your life. There is nothing better than enjoying a warm summer's day with friends, family, or just with ourselves and our thoughts. And don't let sunscreen and, you know, fear of the sun, sunscreen, shame, all build into taking that away from you. You know, you should enjoy your life, enjoy your skincare routine, and that's really what I want to get across in this video today. So if you see people giving unsolicited advice online, responding to people's comments, just say politely, you know what, that wasn't actually asked for. That person didn't ask for your unsolicited advice. They didn't want to get that sense of shame and guilt that comes from you saying you're doing it wrong, you're not doing it like me, and therefore it is wrong. We should all focus on our own self, our well-being, our own skincare routines, making sure that we're getting it right for us and our lifestyles. And then if people do want to come to us for support or advice, then absolutely be there to give it, but in a constructive way, which is hopefully what I want to get across in this video and the rest of the content that I film here on the channel. Wherever you are in the world, guys, stay safe, stay well, and enjoy your sunscreen. It's part of your wellness and your health routine. Take care. Bye.